Welcome to the CDO interview. We are again in our little series on the why, how, and what of data and AI, interviewing group CDOs. Today we have a very special guest, Pierre-Yves from Pernod Ricard, group CDO from Pernod Ricard. Thank you very much for joining us, Pierre-Yves.
Hi, Julian. Happy to be with you today.
Perfect. We're looking forward to the conversation. Now, we had a couple of dinners and discussed already all the fascinating world that you live in, what you do with data and AI. Quickly to myself, obviously, you might have listened to me already in the past. I'm Julian Schirmer. I'm a co-founder of OEO and also academic director at HEC Paris. And we're doing this a little series of interviews to highlight a couple of really cool companies. So perhaps, Pierre-Yves, we could actually get started by telling us a little bit more what Pernod Ricard is. I'm sure everybody knows a couple of your brands, but perhaps is not aware of the full spectrum of what the company is doing. So could you give us a quick hint of what you're doing in the company, where you're present, better understanding of your company?
Yeah, so Pernod Ricard is a company which was founded 50 years ago, actually. It's the anniversary this year. And we are a specialist of the spirits industry and the champagne industry. So we are better known through our brands. We have more than 150, but some of them are more famous than others. You might know the Jameson Irish whiskey with its smooth taste, the Absolute vodka from Sweden. Some of our products like Havana Club or the Beefeater gin. And my favorite is probably the Monkey 47, which is a really nice gin from the Black Forest. And so what we do is that we are creating and crafting those products around the globe, importing them in different parts of the world. So we are present with our teams in more than 60 countries. And to give an idea of size, the company has a turnover of about 11 billion euros per year. And there's about 19,000 people in the company worldwide. So both in the entities which are crafting and producing the different products, and also in the markets where we are distributing, making sure that each product reaches your favorite bar, the supermarket down the road on your street. And so we have a number of sales, marketing, supply chain, finance, HR people, which are helping to do all that. And so I've been working for more than 20 years in the group. So initially starting my career in IT, I've worked in Marseille, in Sydney, in Madrid, in Bogota, where I was the CEO for two Latin American affiliates in Colombia and Venezuela. And for the past 6 years, I've been in charge of digital for the group. So digital marketing initially, e-commerce, and for the past 4 years, well, actually 5 years now, deploying AI solutions at scale. We'll come back on some of them later in the presentation.
So that's super interesting. Directly jumping on that, if you have been like 20 years with the company out of 50, half of the years company, when has data and AI actually become a theme in the organization? Was there any like moment that was critical in the company?
Yeah, I think it started probably a little more than 10 years ago when the digital marketing and e-commerce started to shift the way we started to communicate with the consumers. And so we identified quite early the necessity to get more information, more personal interaction with the consumer. So that was the start. And I think the company was visionary enough 2 years before ChatGPT to see that the AI could boost the business. And so we started with some projects. One of the example is today about 5,000 of our Salesforce people are receiving every Monday a recommendation of the 20 to 30 outlets to be visiting this week in their area, and not based just on frequency, but based on the potential they could have in each of the outlets they visit. And they receive recommendations of actions and the reason why. So, for example, here in this outlet, you're missing one facing of Havana Club rum. because it's similar outlets within the country that have the same type of population visiting and the same type of positioning. The brand is performing better, and so we identify the reason for it. So that's one of the example of assisting and making our teams more performant every day.
That's fascinating. Could you elaborate perhaps then and then a little bit more about the business model that you have? Is it and your distribution channels? How does it work? Is it very different from country to country? Do you have one model? Do you have three different types of distribution channel? How does it look?
So actually, it varies quite a lot per country. So you have a country, let's say, like France, where 90% of the sales are going through the supermarket chains, and then 10% will be distributing to wholesalers that then will distribute to bars, discos, restaurants, etc. In some other markets, so for example, Spain, it will be 50% going through supermarket chains and wholesalers distributing what we call in the off trade, where people are buying the products to consume at home, and 50% is going through wholesalers distributing to bars because Spanish people like to enjoy more than French people going outside and having drinks with their friends. And in some markets, what we call the fragmented trade could be 90% of the business. So, for example, in China, the supermarket chains are really small in the spirits industry. So 90% of the sales are going through tier one distributors, wholesalers, and then tier two, tier three before they reach some secondary or tertiary cities. So in each country, we need to adapt the sourcing of the data that we need. So because on some of the projects, we need the actual sales to the consumers will be different, meaning in some countries connecting more than 100, 200 customers to get some of the sales to the consumers. And in some other countries, like Canada or Sweden, where the distribution is managed by the state itself, then we have just four sources of data or one that will give us a good idea of what's happening in the market. So that diversity of what we call route to market, the way our products are distributed, is varying quite a lot across the world.
That's very interesting. Can you also then, how is it with your entities? If you now say it's very different in every country, is every country operating by their own standards, their own way of doing it, or is the central certain way of centralization? How are you guys structured from centralization versus decentralization?
Yeah, so like any company, it's about finding the right balance between what is specific to the place so that you can operate first, and also you're reaching the your customers and the consumers in the right way, and what can be optimized by doing things in common. So what there are things which are, I would say, compulsory anyway to do in common because you need, for example, to consolidate the financial results of the company for the purpose of reporting. So there are a number of financial activities which are really centralized. For efficiency, we have also a global infrastructure and technical infrastructure for the servers, the access to the network, some of the support team. And then it will vary actually quite granularly on the systems for our sales force. For example, we don't have one globally, but one which is adapted to the different markets. And there are cases, for example, like the US, where because of the law, we cannot distribute ourselves the product. We need to go through a distributor. And so in that case, we need to make sure that our systems are adapted to provide the information to a third-party sales force that will visit the outlets. Whether in some other countries, like let's say Germany, for example, it's our own sales force that gets that information in our own systems. So there is that patchwork, worldwide patchwork that we need to adapt to, and we're trying to optimize what can be optimized, but also making sure that we stick to the complexity of the market. And it's usually a regulated environment for us. So we need to make sure that things are adapted to each of the markets.
And I think this is a very interesting reflection that you have because I think we see it in companies. There's always waves of decentralization and then back centralization, and then big discussion with data and AI as well, right? Should we build up the synergies and have as tight a control, but then we're moving too slow and not adaptive and reactive enough? So I think very interesting balance that you're trying to find. Okay, so now that we understand a little bit the context of the company, I think one thing that really I found very interesting in our past conversations was that you said, look, Julian, we're not going to do data and AI everywhere, but we're going to be very explicit about which types of use cases we want to launch and then make this type of use cases really at scale, basically everywhere where we can. Can you tell us a little bit which types of focus you have set, which type of use cases you really prioritized?
Yeah, Julian, you're right, because we can do hundreds or thousands of things with AI today. And the biggest complexity for me is to identify what are the right use cases that will provide enough value, more value than the cost to actually design, train people, implement them, and scale them. So what we've been quite adamant in the company is actually to focus on first a limited number of projects because you can spread a lot your resources. Second, about selecting the right cases. So basically, we do that by collecting the different ideas, and there are really good ideas coming internally from people which are close to the consumers, close to our customers, the vendors, etc. So it could be coming from the different affiliates. We're also, of course, receiving really good ideas from external consultants or providers. And then we have a process of identifying what will be the business benefit if we were to scale them, having also an idea of the cost of them, and we are prioritizing based on the return on investment. So the value versus the cost. And this helps us to rank the different potential programs. And so we do that periodically. So we started, the first time we did it was 4 years ago. And then when we identified 4 main use cases for AI that we decided to deploy at scale, we did that 1 year ago again and identifying the second wave of programs. And we are making sure that we also explain to the people of the programs which are not selected why. It could be because of the cost, the feasibility of the little value, because we are a for-profit company. So if a project does not deliver at some stage P&L value, so it could be increase of sales, it could be better efficiency of your marketing, it could be optimizing your cost base. But if it's not at some stage impacting your P&L, it's going to be difficult to sustain it, to finance it, and to have people working on it as a priority. So this is why we decide to focus. So to give you an example, when we started initially, we decided on 4 main projects with AI. So the one described for the sales force, another one to optimize our marketing mix. So we take 3 years of historical investment in marketing, compare it with AI modules to the sales we created to the consumers. And based on that, the system is capable to make recommendations to our marketers. We've done also a system to optimize the pricing and the promotion so that we have a win-win discussion with our customers, our retailers, on what are the best promotions to implement this week. Is it better to do a promotion of €3 of 2 bottles of 1 liter of Valentine's, or a promotion of €2 on 75 centiliter? So that we have developed a capability to do this. And we have also a module of segmenting our demand from the consumers. So grouping the different occasions of consumption. So it could be before a Friday night party where people are at home and having a lot of cocktails, different cocktails with their friends. Or it could be just you with your partner on a Tuesday night having a nice drink in front of the chimney or on the terrace. And so that's 2 moments of consumption. And so we have been clustering that with a lot of flows of data to identify better what are the needs from our consumers.
I love that. I think this is very interesting because in many industries, you have this moment in life of a customer and then trying to really identify them. Is there anything that you would say is very specific for your type of industry, or you'd say that's perhaps something in this case of leveraging AI that would surprise people?
Yeah, so probably there's a number of things. So there's the fact that we are mainly a B2B company because we are selling mainly to clients, which are then reselling. So it's called B2B2C companies. So that creates a complexity to access some of the information. So that's probably one of the specificities. We have also a specificity of having a large portfolio of products. We have more than 240 brands, and you need to optimize which brand goes in which precise outlet, because you don't place the same brand in a nice cocktail bar upper stream where people are really demanding on the precise brand that they want their espresso martini to be made with. They want Kahlua and Absolute there. Whereas on the mainstream bar, they are going to be looking for a good value mojito, and then Havana Club will be a good and a good value. So that's the way we need to precisely allocate the right brands in the right outlets. And so managing that complexity is also where the AI comes really into play, because there's the possibility to manage thousands or millions of possible combinations and identifying the best ones for those target consumer going to that outlet in a specific moment and looking for a specific brand.
Wonderful. So thank you very much. I think this gives us already a way better understanding of where you focus, really focusing on actually the marketing and distribution part of the business, and really trying to see how can we handle with the complexity of all those types of interactions and products that you're having to the markets and the different customer moments. So thank you very much for sharing that. We'll come back in our next interview where we're then going to talk about how do we make this happen and what are the different challenges to address here. Thank you very much, Pierre-Yves, for joining us on that interview today.
Thank you, Julian.